Hi, I'm Helen Bauer, and this is the Heart of Hospice Podcast. The Heart of Hospice Podcast is your source for compassionate and informative discussions about hospice and end-of-life care. I'm a certified hospice and palliative care nurse with over 15 years of experience. Whether you're a caregiver, someone with a serious illness, or you simply need to know more about hospice care, this podcast is for you. Join me as we explore all the aspects of hospice, from the details of caregiving to the emotional and spiritual dimensions of end-of-life journeys. For more resources and to connect with me, visit theheartofhospice.com and find us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Keep listening for today's episode.
This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
This episode is sponsored by Hospice Navigation Services. When you need information about hospice, Hospice Navigation Services is here to help. An expert navigator will answer your questions about end-of-life care and give you the tools to feel confident in your decisions. A hospice navigation session is a great way to troubleshoot your current hospice care. It's your journey. We can be your guide. Visit hospicenavigation.com to schedule your hospice navigation session today.
Today's guest is hospice nurse Julie, a viral media sensation who posts about death and dying with honesty, transparency, and compassion. Julie McFadden, RN, is a hospice and palliative care nurse with over 15 years of experience working in end-of-life care. She's the best-selling author of Nothing to Fear, and she's got a new book out, The Nothing to Fear Journal. Passionate about normalizing death and dying, Julie has more than 1 million followers on TikTok as @HospiceNurseJulie. Julie's been featured in Newsweek, Time, USA Today, and The Atlantic, and she's appeared on Dr. Phil Primetime, Howie Mandel Does Stuff, and elsewhere. You can find her book and the Nothing to Fear Journal at major bookstores and connect with Julie on all the social media platforms and her website, hospicenursejulie.com. This is a great conversation with a fellow hospice nurse. Julie McFadden is back with me today. Her first interview on the podcast was about 3 years ago when she was just getting started with her TikTok videos. In today's interview, we talk about advanced care planning and about what Julie herself wants her care to look like at the end of her own life. Julie shares a really intense memory of the death of a patient that has stayed with her for a long time and why she continues to do this work with the dying. Julie's passion for educating people about hospice care and dying really shines in this discussion. She's creative and honest, and she's funny. So sit back and listen to today's episode with hospice nurse Julie. There's a lot to learn. Julie, it is so good to have you back on the podcast. Welcome back to the podcast.
So nice to see you. Thanks for having me back.
Well, you have been living large since I talked to you back in June of 22. Your royal title as hospice royalty, hospice nurse Julie, has just taken off. Your TikTok videos are fantastically popular. You have a New York Times bestselling book, and you have a new journal that's come out that's a companion to that book. So lots going on.
I know. Yeah. It's been, I feel like right when I talked to you, like right after that, it feels like everything started taking off. If the timeline's right, somewhere around there. And it's been crazy.
Yeah.
I've sort of taken it as it comes. I'm really grateful for the most part.
That's very cool. Well, I thought we'd start with an icebreaker question, but of course, I
Yeah.
want to do one that has to do with death and dying, because right, that's what we talk about. So tell me something unique that's part of your advanced care plan.
Oh, if this is possible, I would like my friend Jenny to be called and to be bedside, no matter where I am, no matter what she's doing. She knows that she has to be the one that's going to be helping my sister, if that's possible. Of course, this will change over time depending on how our lives go. But if something were to happen to me tomorrow, she and my sister both know that Jenny needs to be there. She's also a nurse, and she's also a nurse, and she just knows what it's like to be a nurse. And I want her to be at my bedside, kind of making the choices, asking the questions for me if I can't.
Is Jenny your decision maker, or is your sister?
My sister will be my decision maker, but my sister knows to listen to Jenny.
Yeah.
And I want Jenny there because there's specific, I don't know about you, but like I think there's specific fears that can kind of grow from being a nurse, right? Like, because I was an ICU nurse, I really want to make sure that someone like Jenny, who has also been an ICU nurse, is at my bedside if I'm in the ICU and like intubated or something, because I would want to be and here's my controlling part, right? Which I need to really let go of, but I would want to be like sedated a certain type of way. Like, because we had many patients where we would do like a sedation vacation to see if they could like get off the vent. And we would have them on we would have them on certain vent settings that would be incredibly uncomfortable if you were awake. Right. So anyway, that's one like weird, probably very controlling thing that I would like.
You know, I guess because I'm a nurse too, I don't think of it as controlling. Nobody in my family works in healthcare. And those jokers scare the daylights out of me because I need somebody who can speak the language.
Yes.
You know, I look at my husband and I think, there's no way.
I know, my sister too. Like, I want her, she is my primary decision maker, but like, that's why I want Jenny there to be like, girl, like Jenny will be my voice. And then Jill knows to listen to her.
I think every family could benefit or should have a nurse inside that caregiving unit, because I think they can act as sort of a mediator and a translator of all the terms, and really look at, we're using plan of care and all these initials, and what that really means for your person is this.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yep. I'm totally with you. I remember when I worked in the hospital, it was years ago, we would see things and see how doctors interacted and their infection rates. And one of us would say to one of the other nurses, if I ever have this particular condition, don't let that doctor take care of me.
Yep.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
We all did that.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's one of those industry secrets. When you see the inner workings, you're like, I don't want to go to that hospital. Yeah.
Yes. If you like, when I worked at the #1 hospital at the time in the country, and there were still days in the ICU where I was like, if this attending is rounding, like, and going to be here for the next couple of weeks, like, get me out of here. Like, I don't want to be a part of this because of the things they wouldn't necessarily it's not like they're doing something wrong. Right. But it's just like,
you could do better.
Yeah. Certain things you're like, no.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels that way. That's awesome. I think there are probably, hopefully, hundreds of nurses listening to this, raising their hair going, same.
Exactly.
Same for me. Yeah. Okay. So hospice nurse Julie, your alter ego.
Exactly.
Wildly popular. These educational videos on the worst topic in the world. Can we just admit it, right? Death and dying. But so valuable and so popular. And it's valuable because people have picked up on this and they are watching you. They are listening. They are gaining the value and the knowledge that you're sharing. How did you get to do this? When did you become the hospice nurse Julie persona? Was it the TikTok videos? Is that how you got started?
Yeah, TikTok is how I got started. It really does feel very, very organic, which I think is why it works for me. Because it feels like it just sort of happened. I was at a place in my career that I was really happy with. A couple of my friends were, their parents were dying and they were like asking me questions. And I was kind of just giving them like the spiel I would give any of my patients' families. And their reactions to my spiels were very like, what the, like, how come I didn't know you knew this stuff? Like, I've known you for years. Like, how come we've never talked about this? This is incredible. Like, I just didn't know this about you or about death and dying. And they were the ones that kind of pushed me into like, people need to know this. I've never seen stuff like this on the internet. You should do something with this. And I kind of took that with a grain of salt. And then when I went home to see my nieces, who were like of TikTok age, or so I thought, like I didn't realize there were people my age on TikTok at the time. I got on TikTok to watch their dances and to like be a part of it while I was home for the week or whatever. And that's when I started seeing people my age like talking about space and talking about gardening and cooking. And I thought it was like a really cool app. So I made like 5 videos and one of those videos took off probably like 3 or 4 days in. And it was like I had 10,000 followers overnight, then 100,000 in like a month, a million in a year about. And I feel like it was born on its own. Like it's kind of like developed into its own thing.
So which of the videos was it that took off like that? What topic was it?
I was talking about Barbara Carnes's book, Gone From My Sight. It was a green screen in the back, like her book was in the back. And I was talking about what it says in the book. And I don't know if I've ever shared this publicly. I really think so. One, that book is amazing. I love it. Right. But I think it took off because many of the comments were like young adults being like, I guess I'm dead. I guess I'm dying. I guess I'm dying. Cause I talked about how like 3 months out in the book, it says you'll stop socializing as much. You'll sleep a lot and you won't eat as much. So like all these, I presume them to be kids. I don't know why. I guess because I felt like 40-year-olds wouldn't say this stuff. I don't know. But they were like, I guess I'm dying soon. I guess I'm almost dead. And I think that kind of drove the video to go viral. Eventually it was people who were actually interested. But a lot of the comments were like joking.
Yeah, like, this is my life already.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, so however accidentally or organically it grew, it's taken on a life of its own, and people really resonate with your topics, and you cover almost everything related to death and dying. You've got some videos, you have stitches on there that are really valuable, and people, I think it was a format that people could relate to a little bit more rather than having to dig into the internet. They're already on TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I think too. I think it's like not everyone wants to, if you Google hospice or death and dying, but usually a lot of stuff will come up with hospice. I know for me, I'm not like someone to go look at a website and like read, like all these websites are amazing with tons of information, but I don't know if everyone wants to go there and read about it or find information that way. I'm sure some people do. So I think it's a little easier, a little bit of an easier pill to swallow, watching someone on the internet talk about it for like a minute and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. It's bite size, which unfortunately with our attention span with social media, that's kind of how we get information in general. But yeah, I'm like you Google hospice or death and dying, and then you go in and you read a 3,000 word blog.
Yeah.
Most people aren't going to connect that way. Yeah. And maybe you are reaching a younger audience.
Maybe.
Know?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I do have analytics. I would say for TikTok, I do all of my social media. I sway, I mean, quote unquote older. I don't find it older, but like 40 and above maybe. But technically TikTok is just a little younger,
Right.
So yeah.
Right. So you're talking to the geriatric social media people.
And I'm okay with that.
Like me.
I'm okay with that.
Oh, that's hilarious. So it's obvious that you love what you do and you love the education you're providing. You're still working at the bedside. You're still bringing the care to the people. Um, what about this work, working with the dying? What brings you joy?
Meeting the people, meeting the people. That is truly like I have so many videos that I never actually post. They're in my drafts just because they don't say much, and I'm like, at first I think people will love this. And then I'm like, it doesn't say anything. No one's gonna care. But it's basically a video of me like walking out of a patient's house and just being like, I love people. People are so amazing. The people I meet are so amazing. And of course you can't say anything else about it. You can't say why they're amazing or what happened. But that is what it is. It's like we live in a world, and I think, whatever century you're in, I think everyone's kind of like, the world is a scary place. But it's for me, particularly right now, it seems really divided, really like people are awful. But from in my day-to-day experience, like that is not my experience. My experience is meeting people has been amazing. Meeting their families is amazing for the most part. Seeing their pictures, seeing their house that they've lived in for the past 60 years and like the couches they've never changed with like plastic on them and
Right.
big like Obama and Michelle Obama like statues, like just like random things that you see, like sparkly wallpaper from the 70s, like that stuff. That is the stuff that I'm like, I love this. I love this. It's
Yeah.
so unique.
You can't get to know people like that in the hospital. You
Yeah.
don't get to know patients and families like that in the hospital. Community-based care
Yeah.
is so different. But I get what you're saying about you're walking out the door of the patient's home and you're just completely blown away. I think that really speaks to the intensity of the work that we do.
Yeah.
It changes us and it impacts us.
Yeah.
So it impacts us, right? But that's a double-edged sword, pros and cons to
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
What challenges you professionally the most? What's the thing that you hate? What's the diagnosis you hate working with? What's the one thing you hate doing when it comes to hospice care?
Okay, so on a surface level, and I mean this with all of my heart, I hate charting.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. All
Hate
those
it.
nurses are out there raising their hand again,
I
saying,
always
same.
say, if I didn't have to chart, I would honestly do this for free. Like I mean, maybe not 40 hours a week for free, but like I would volunteer my time to be a hospice nurse if I didn't have to chart. I hate it.
Right.
Okay, so that's like the superficial part of my job that I feel like takes away from patient care completely. I get it. I get why we have to do it, but I really dislike it. The other part that I find hard and disheartening is like when you said like certain diagnoses. I still always want to obviously I would give the best care I can, but like ALS to me is pretty tough. It's really hard for me. Like I'm like really good at boundary drawing, I think, but there's certain diagnoses that I'm just like, I will bleed for you. Like all boundaries are gone. Like I'm going to do everything possible to make sure you're okay. And ALS is one of those diseases because I just feel like it can be hard to manage, not all the time, but sometimes,
Right.
and it takes a lot of work. It's hard for the patient. It's hard for the family. It's hard for everybody, especially if they can't communicate. There's just a lot of things, and I just did a video recently about how like, that's the one and only time I have like flipped my lid on my supervisor, which of course, like, don't yell. I don't condone this. I would never, thank God my supervisor was so kind and loving and like gave me so much grace. But that's the one and only time I like flipped out, completely inappropriate, screaming over the phone because I wasn't getting what I wanted for the patient. That sounds so awful, but like I wasn't getting what we needed. We needed continuous care. And like basically the office was saying like, prove it. And I'm like, the reasons why the symptoms are managed right now is because there's a continuous care nurse there. Pull that continuous care nurse out, the symptoms won't be managed. Like and this person's going to die very shortly, and I want them to be comfortable. Anyway, and I flipped out. and got what
Yeah.
I wanted, which is like horrific. And I know I shouldn't, please don't ever flip out on your supervisors. There's better, more professional ways to do it. But like that's a specific disease that can like really get me riled up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
That's
know?
not the lesson, right? Advocacy is the lesson of that story.
Yeah.
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 I mean, and let's face it, we've all done it because we have those little trigger points where like, I need to advocate for my patient in a way that's a radical sort of way.
And also like I'm here, I'm bedside. They didn't witness me screaming, you know, I went out to my car, but
Right.
like it's hard when like there are people in an office that are not witnessing what you're witnessing. You are witnessing the suffering. You are witnessing the family. You're the one there witnessing it all. So it's like, will you please listen to me when I say this is what's needed?
Yeah. You're immersed in the energy inside the house. You know,
Yeah.
for me, the thing that I found challenging, not so much a diagnosis, although ALS is a BITCH. ALS is just bad.
Yeah.
It's hard for everybody that's providing care and for the patient. But trachs was a real trigger for me.
Oh, like you,
Yeah, not my thing.
not your thing. Did it
Not my
like
thing.
gross you out or did it
Yes,
like,
yes.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I actually had a patient that had some horrible respiratory infection who coughed, refused to cover the trach, and coughed on me.
I know what you're going. Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Yeah, and I have it doesn't. I don't gag easily because I've been doing nursing for a while,
Right.
but that really hit me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't really want to see another patient with a trach again.
No.
Yeah.
I think the ICU made that easy for me, but when I see it in the home, any patient that has like multiple things like that, where you can tell they were like in the hospital for a long time, or they've been living like this chronically.
Yes.
It's always harder, I think.
Yeah. That was just my little personal tick. I guess every nurse has one like that, but yeah.
Mine is like the thing that can gross me out. And again, it's not too bad. Like you said, it's not enough to like really like push me away or something, but mine's really basic. It's like the smell of urine. I don't like this.
Really?
Yeah. Well, like
That's like standard. That's baseline for us.
I know. I can deal with it, but I'm not crazy about it. Like I don't like when it's like real, that real thick urine smell.
Oh, don't say thick
like
urine.
it.
Yes.
I don't like it.
Okay. So one of the things I have a tendency to kind of crack jokes about, but I think this is very symbolic, very representative of the work that we do, is I remember being in the field and going home and having some kind of water stain. I use the word water on the knees of my pants because I had knelt down next to a patient that was in a chair or bed or whatever. That was not water.
Oh
no. And it was not my urine.
No.
No,
it wasn't. No, it was not.
No. But I think people don't realize, because they look at us as, I think we get this angel kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not who we are. The work that we do is hard. We go into homes that don't have great running water. They don't have AC that the patient's willing to use because they can't afford it. There are all kinds of things. You're in very tight spaces and you're kneeling down on floors where their animals have been incontinent. Is an animal incontinent? Where their dog pees on the floor, and you get up and this is what you deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made a video once saying like the best part of my job is meeting people in their homes. The worst part of my job is meeting people in their homes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like so amazing. And you're like, there's times when it's not so amazing.
Yeah.
And of course, there's still, bed bugs, roaches, definitely rodents scurry across, and you got to bring all your stuff in there.
So you have to figure out how to either strap it on or hang it somewhere. Yeah.
Yep.
And I know this is probably a little more nitty gritty and in the down and dirty of what we do in hospice nursing. But I think it's important for people to realize that we're going to go anywhere. When we say we'll meet you where you are, we are not kidding.
Yes, we are not kidding. I've had patients on Skid Row, which is a famous like homeless encampment in LA.
Yeah. I had a patient that just had gotten out of the federal penitentiary here in this area and was living in a halfway home. halfway house.
Mhm.
And so that being said, just because we've been in all those places and we don't like them doesn't mean we don't go to see patients there. If
That's
they
right.
called me today and said, "Hey, I have a patient in this place. It's one of the poorest neighborhoods in your city, and they're dying," of course I would go.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
Same.
it's the way we roll.
Yep.
We're going to break for just a minute. This isn't the end of the episode. There's more to come, so stay connected.
This episode is sponsored by Hospice Navigation Services.
If you or someone you care about is dealing with a life-limiting illness, you need a guide. Hospice Navigation Services is here to help you get the best end-of-life care possible. We understand the importance of personalized, experienced support. Hospice navigators provide one-on-one support over the phone or through video calls to guide you every step of the way. They'll answer your questions, explain what hospice care looks like, and give you the tools to feel confident in your decisions. Whether you're planning ahead or you have an urgent need, Hospice Navigation Services helps you and your family understand your options for end-of-life care. A hospice navigation session is a great way to troubleshoot your current hospice care and get answers to your questions. You don't have to go through this alone. You deserve compassionate support and guidance for your end-of-life experience. Hospice Navigation Services can be your guide. To book your hospice navigation session and receive your free guide to end-of-life care, visit our website at hospicenavigation.com. It's your journey. Hospice Navigation Services can be your guide. Okay, so let's flip the conversation and let's talk about your book, Nothing to Fear, and the journal that just came out, the Nothing to Fear journal. Who's the journal for? Well, let's start with the book. Who's the book for? And what would they get out of it?
So I like to joke and say the book is for anyone dying, which the joke is we all are.
Right.
Right.
If you're human, this
Yeah,
book
if you're
is for
human,
you.
yeah. But no, I mean the book really is for anyone, I think. But I think a lot of people who have bought in the book are caregivers of someone dying, someone who has recently died and they're going through, their loved ones recently died and they're going through the grief process, someone who's just been diagnosed with something terminal or life limiting, and just people interested in this topic, which I am so grateful that there are people that are interested, because I think it's nice to know that there are other people out there who find this interesting. So the book is about, it's an educational book to educate you and prepare you for end of life and death and dying, with stories interwoven so it doesn't feel like a textbook.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So the journal has just come out.
Yeah.
We're recording this in summer of 2025. So the journal has just come out. Tell me how the journal is set up. Is it just a free writing journal? How does it work?
We set it up in 4 different sections. I like to look at it as, which, on a quick side note, the reason why we did this journal is because I am a journaler. I love to journal. I've been journaling since I've been a little girl. I probably have 20 years worth of journals. So it's a big part of my life, and it's really been beneficial to me, which I do just free write journal. I just free write things, but it's been really, really helpful in my life to get my thoughts organized. Hence why this journal was developed. Now the journal is not just free write. There are places you can just freely write, but there's prompts and stuff throughout the journal. So it's broken up into 4 sections. I'm speaking generally here, but I like to say the first section's more like existential, right? It's for people who are like, what are your thoughts on death? What are your fears? What are your anticipations? What are your beliefs around this, right? And how can we help with that? How can writing help with that? The second 2 parts are about conversations around death and dying, and how to help someone who's dying. If you're dying, how to help, how to talk to your family about it. So conversations around it. And then the last part to me is the most practical part. If you read my book, it should help you to start planning your end of life journey, as I like to call it. And I think everyone should do that no matter how old you are. Of course, it'll change over time, but I think it's important to do it now. The last part of the journal really gives you practical steps to do it, to actually say, okay, yeah, I'm on board. Let's start planning this. Well, now what? The last part of the journal hits that part.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Very robust, comprehensive. So
Yeah.
I went through the journal and I pulled one of the questions, and I've changed it a little bit because I want you to answer the question for me. This is one of the prompts that actually comes from the journal. So here's how I modified it. Think back to the death of one of your patients where the death didn't feel peaceful or filled with love and care. And of course, I've modified it to say patient. What it says is someone you were caring for
Yeah.
when they died and the death didn't feel peaceful or filled with love and care. What was missing? So can you share
Oh,
something with
yes.
me? Yeah.
Yes. I just made a video about this, and it's a difficult, there are, oh shoot, which story do I want to tell? Now I just thought of another one. I'll share the first one. So the first one was really difficult. I just made a video about this. I never really like to talk about it because it's just so awful. Yeah, it's just so awful, right? The person was young. They had a brain tumor, right? So brain tumors, most, nurses and doctors, anyone in the healthcare world knows that like brain tumors aren't the best, right? So
Right.
you're young, you're dying from a brain tumor, and this particular person did not want any kind of Western medicine. After they decided to go on to hospice, they did not want morphine, they didn't want Ativan, they didn't want anti-seizure meds. They wanted to just go through it quote unquote naturally. Okay. So they also use things like cannabis and different oils and essential oils. And like they had their own things they wanted to do more alternatively, which again, like I'm not anti that. I think those things are great in conjunction with modern medicine, but she didn't want those things. And because of that, her death, in my opinion, was like not just bad, it was like horrific, like symptoms not controlled. She made her friends and family like promise, no matter how bad it got, to like never give her anything. Okay. So she's like seizing. She is terminally agitated. She is in pain. She's moaning. She's grunting. She's like all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time. And I felt powerless. We could not do anything per her request, which was written in an advance directive. Now I say all this because the question is, it's like, well, you followed her advance directive. You followed what she wanted. This is what she wanted. She gets to choose what she wants. True.
Right.
True. But it was really awful. And I don't think it needed to be that way. So what I think was missing was a lack of like open-mindedness and like education on like what these medications could do and how they could help her. I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. I really do want to respect what people want, but to do that, I think to do that to yourself, to all the people around you, because she had several friends who had to watch her die like that. And I, being a experienced healthcare worker who has seen many, many, many things, okay, was still shocked, was still like, wow, okay, this is traumatizing to watch this happen. And I've seen a lot of traumatizing things working in an ICU in Baltimore City, like trauma center. So this was like up there on like, I can't believe we have to like allow this to happen. So I think what was missing was an ability to be open-minded and to like really understand what that would mean to go through something like that. Is that fair, you think, to even say that because she had it really planned out? I mean, she did plan it out. She had it written, and I don't know. I don't know if it's fair for me to say that.
I mean, from the outside, you never really, you can walk in someone else's shoes, but you can't actually walk through this experience unless you actually go through it and die. We do have a lot of patients that refuse medications for different reasons or refuse just certain medications. I don't believe that I've ever had a patient that said, I want a completely natural death with no meds of any sort. I've never had a patient do that. But you have to wonder if there was a lack of education if she realized how traumatic it was
Right.
going to be for her family.
For her family.
Because at some point you would hope that her brain no longer
Right.
could sense and really, there was no sensation of everything that was happening, because that's just suffering.
Yeah,
That's just suffering.
yes. And
But
then to have everyone witness that. It was,
yeah, I mean, if
No,
she
I mean,
wanted her family and friends there to be with her, that's asking a lot of people
mm-hmm.
to say, I'm going to do this without anything. I'm going to seize. I'm going to be agitated. I'm going to have delirium. And those are some of the hardest symptoms to manage during the dying process anyway.
Yeah, even if you wanted to manage them, right? And I had many conversations like this with her, and that's where I felt like I caught you just sort of meet people, and you can tell there's just like there's no openness to what I'm
the
saying.
door was shut.
It was just and at first it was like I'd try to find my way in, and then that I could tell like that wasn't really helping. So then I would get like blunter and blunter and blunter. Like, this is what it's going to be like. This is what you're going to, and I would say stuff like, this is what you're going to put your family through. Like, this is what we are expecting. Like, do you understand this? Do you know what I mean?
And even then she
was like,
didn't resonate.
That didn't resonate and was pretty turned off and like irritated that I was still pushing. Like it was like me against her. And I kept saying like, I am for you. Like this is not me against you. I am for you. I want to support what you're saying. And I need you to know what I know. Like we are not trying to like the health, this healthcare establishment is like not trying to hurt you, right? Like it's not trying.
We don't actually care whether you use the medications or not.
Yeah.
We get nothing out of that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was definitely like there's some hidden agenda. I'm pushing something. I'm pushing this on her, and eventually, I kind of was. I mean, eventually, it's like, yeah, girl.
Yeah.
I am pushing this on you because of what I've seen and what I know and what you're going to experience and your loved ones are going to experience because you are refusing to listen to me.
You have to wonder about the family dynamics. Were there family dynamics between her and her family or her friends where because I have seen people, it's basically a screw you on the way out the door.
Well, she didn't have family. That's the thing. No family. So I'm sure she had family, but she did not call, she didn't have any of her family around. It was all friends and all friends like-minded like her, right? So all friends who were like, they believed what she believed, no meds, morphine is, they didn't say morphine's the devil, but like basically morphine is awful, bad, like it's all only there to hurt us. Like, there's no real, they had very, very specific beliefs that unfortunately, so I think it might've been a little easier. I don't know if it was easy. I do know, I can remember specifically the look on her friend's face multiple days in a row when things were not going as they thought they would. And, they obviously kept her wishes, but they were looking like, what have we done?
Yeah.
So,
so for listeners that are hearing this, we in hospice, and I speak generically for all of us, it is not our goal to put you on meds. We want you to have the most natural, the most comfortable death, whatever that looks like for you. But it's our job to tell patients, based on what's wrong with you, based on your brain tumor diagnosis, you're more than likely going to have seizures when you begin to actively die. Here's what's going to happen. We can manage it for you, and here's how. But we don't have a personal vested interest. We don't make extra money off of that. It doesn't, there's no personal satisfaction for us with that. It's all about what the patient wants to do. So I guess at the end of everything, even though it was a horrifying experience, her friends can at least say, we respected her wishes and followed through with it, even though it was really difficult.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the hard one.
Yeah, it's a hard one. Yeah. There's other ones that are like that where like, people didn't have meds in time and, anytime I'm watching anyone suffer and it feels needless, it's really hard. And a lot of times, as you know, like if you show up to a home and you're just admitting somebody and they have nothing in the home and they're like all of a sudden actively dying or like switch into this mode of like they need things now, you can get things there pretty quick, but it still takes some time. And
Yeah.
between the time you order it and the time it gets there, there is suffering. And that is hard for everybody.
And
Yeah.
patients come to us so late sometimes that
Exactly.
a lot of times they are already actively dying.
Yeah.
So you walk in and the symptom management's needed right then. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to switch gears here and we're going to talk about myths in end of life care, which there may be some eye rolling. The listeners won't be able to see that, but you know how we are with this. What do you think is the biggest myth about end of life care that we just can't seem to get rid of?
That we give morphine and that causes people to die or die quicker. That's like our main, even if someone's not saying it negatively. I was just at a wedding this weekend and people hear I'm a hospice nurse, and then they want to tell me their personal experience, which is great. I don't mind that. But then their personal experience is always like, so we got her on hospice and the nurse gave her morphine so she could die. And then she died.
And what do you say to that in a social situation?
I know.
What do you do?
I usually just let it go because, like, for instance, if I'm at a dinner party or something and I feel like there's more time to talk about it or something, I will try to be like, that's, it's a common misconception, and I'll try to talk about it. But like this weekend at a wedding, we were like on a dance floor. Legit on a dance floor, someone's like, my mom just died. We're like dancing. I'm thinking like, oh my God, why are we talking about this right now?
Do the Cupid shuffle.
Yeah. So I just said, oh, and like they had a great experience, right? Like they were okay with this idea that like the morphine was given and then their mom died peacefully because the morphine was given. I was kind of like, I'm just going to let it go. I'm not going to sit here and try to explain it to this person right now. But that's
sometimes it feels accusatory.
Yes. A lot of times it feels accusatory. Like all they did was give morphine to kill her.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah.
That's what all of hospice does. Yeah, that is one of the biggest myths about what we do. So just to be clear, everybody, hospice never hastens death. That is not our goal.
No. And your loved one is on hospice. Is on hospice because they're dying. They're not dying because they're on hospice.
Yes.
They are dying and that's why they're on hospice. And just because someone's actively dying doesn't mean they need morphine. I've actually seen a lot of like caregivers and other nurses who don't particularly work in hospice, but maybe like long-term care or something. They will automatically assume like, oh, they're actively dying. Let's start the morphine. Like I've heard that. Yeah. Let's start the morphine. I'm like, are they in pain? Or do they have shortness of breath? Like just because someone's now, granted, don't get me wrong. I'm all about medication and morphine if someone needs it. But I think we need to even educate people who work in like long-term care or who work in this field or adjacent to it that like not everyone dying needs morphine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We may have it in the home, but if you don't need it, we're going to waste it at the end of the whole situation after your person dies. No harm, no foul. You just didn't need it.
Yeah. Just because you're actively dying doesn't mean you need morphine.
Right. Yeah, so, that is one of those. There's something about morphine, it's powerful, it's useful, but I think it scares people.
Yeah. Okay. There's always like very specific things I educate about when I do an admission. My admissions take so long because I like warn the families up front. I'm like, I'm going to be here for a couple hours, like, because I want to like get
You're going to be sick of me.
Yeah. And one of the things is talking about morphine, whether I think their loved one needs it or not. In the moment, I am still going to talk about it. So we don't get that whole like, oh no, they don't need morphine. Not yet. It's not going to do anything except to make them feel better.
Right. And we're just going to talk about it. Talking about it does not make anything happen. Yeah.
Yes.
So you've been doing this for a while. You've seen hundreds, thousands of patients. You've been doing all this content. You've written a book. Tell me about a time that you were reminded by a patient or a caregiver about why you stay in hospice nursing.
Oh my gosh. So there was one day a patient, it was just me and this patient, okay? He was in a skilled nursing facility. He was very, very hard of hearing. No one was around. Like usually like a son is there or something to like kind of do it, but there wasn't anyone there. And just to be totally truthful, I think a lot of nurses would understand this. It was a little bit like, oh God, like who else can help me with, like, cause he could barely hear, like, is this guy really alert and oriented? Like this is going to he was taking forever to respond. I was like, this is going to be forever. Okay. And a little part of me is a little bit like, I got to get this, we got to get moving here. Like I can't be here all day.
Yeah.
That being said, I realized through talking to him that he's very alert and oriented. He doesn't need anybody there to talk him through this. And it's just going to take some time. And you know what? I sat there and I took the time to listen to him, to tell him what I needed to tell him. And then after we were all done, I did talk about like, he had been really feeling, as it's coming out, right? He's been feeling really dismissed, really ignored. Like no one's talking to me about this rash on my leg. Like this itches, like little things, right? That are happening in his world that like no one's listening to him about. So I listened to it all. I tell him all the things about, what the plan is. Not only are we signing him up for hospice, but also, I'm talking to the doctor about the rash and this thing and that, whatever, do a whole thing. It took a very, very, very long time. Okay. And when I'm about to go, he grabbed my arm and was like, thank you. I have not had anyone listen to me, and I cannot think of how long. Thank you for listening to me. And I don't mean to, I'm not trying to say that like I'm a saint. Hence why I told you the first part of it where I was like, oh my God, this is going to take forever. This is so annoying. But then you have moments like that where you have this like genuine connection and you remember, because it's very easy, I think, if you do this long enough, to forget that this person's a human being who's had a whole entire life, before lying in this bed at 96 years old, deaf, and looking very elderly, and you're just assuming they don't know what's going on, all this stuff, right? It's like, no, he's had a whole entire life and he is still in there and he deserves time and respect and people to listen to him. And that is hard to remember when you're in this fast-paced world of like all the stuff that you have to do. At least it's hard for me to remember. And that was just so gratifying. And I left there being like, okay, this is it. This is why I need to remember this on a day-to-day basis, is that like, I need to listen to people. I need to take the time and make sure that they are feeling heard and know what's going on. And yeah, that's just one. I mean, I feel like there's so many countless things that happen, but like something like that always like humbles me to be like, oh yeah, okay.
Isn't it cool that even though we work in an area where it can get really heavy, really dark, really intense, that we get to have those moments like that? Yeah. So the fact that we get to work in an industry like this, you don't have to be a nurse to experience that, right?
No.
Anybody who's on an interdisciplinary team, even hospice volunteers, get to see stuff like that. And it keeps us coming back for more. Otherwise, why in the world would we do this? You got to refer back to the urine stains on the knees of your pants.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So your book, Nothing to Fear, and the Nothing to Fear journal. Where can listeners find the book and buy the journal?
So generally speaking, you can get the book or journal wherever you want to get your book and journals, right? If it's Barnes & Noble, if it's Amazon, or if you want to like go and just look at it, right, and figure it out, you can go to my website, hospicenursejulie.com. And on there, there'll be like different places you can get it, right? Books A Million. There's different avenues you can go. So wherever you get your books, you can get it.
Awesome. Okay, so where can people watch you? Where are you on social media, and how can they connect with you?
My favorite place is on YouTube for at Hospice Nurse Julie. But you can basically find me wherever you get your social media, right? So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok is my main one. But YouTube is my favorite because I get them professionally produced and they're more long form and just easier to, I think it gives you the most information.
So a little deeper content there.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, I'll have links in the show notes to all your socials and your website. Julie, it was so great to have you back on the show.
Same.
You're doing some awesome stuff.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to talk to a fellow nurse about it, like about nursing. It's so fun.
Thanks for listening to the Heart of Hospice podcast. Check out our sponsor in the show notes and please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. We would appreciate it if you would share this episode with your friends and family and anyone who needs to know more about hospice. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, no matter who you are or where you are in your hospice journey, you are the heart of hospice.
This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time.